Everyone, so welcome back. I'm Douglas Johnson, yoga teacher, meditation teacher, ordained minister, certified Kilobees inquiry facilitator. And I'm hopefully going to have a short talk today. And what I wanted to talk about was, how do you motivate others? Is it with love or with fear? So you always want to motivate people from love. You want to find ways to motivate people where they feel inspired to maybe do what you want to do, what you want them to do. This is really the only way that you're going to be happy long term. Threatening people and getting them to do what you want, emotionally blackmailing them, which means that people do what you want them to do because they're afraid they'll upset you, or they're afraid they'll make you sad or angry or whatever it is. You don't really want that. You want people to feel inspired and to, from within their own hearts, want to do things for you. And so you want to look at your relationships and see how you're motivating people. How do you motivate your kids? How do you motivate your partner? How do you motivate if you are in a position of power at work? How do you motivate your coworkers or your subordinates? Again, is it with threats of fear? Is it, basically using fear mainly to motivate them? Or are you inspiring them? Are you giving them good reasons why they want to do what you're asking them to do? This is a large part of the way that I try and teach. I really try to educate. So that's one of the major motivations I try and use for you with these videos. When I'm in class, I try and educate you about what the consequences of doing or not doing these things might be. And you might think, well, okay, I'm afraid of getting hurt or old or whatever, so that's why I'm listening to you. But you're not doing it because you're afraid of me, right? You're not doing it because I'm yelling or screaming. Again, it's the difference between education, hey, if you don't do these things, here are the consequences, versus if you don't do this, I'm going to get really upset or angry. Or you're going to get punished, whatever it is. So this is something that's just you can think of it as a practice. It's something that you want to look at. Your relationships are the people around you. For instance, if you want someone to take out the trash or whatever it is, are you able to find a way to inspire them to do that? So that they are willing to do it or feel even inspired to do it? Or are you simply using threats and fear? I think a lot of times when in a family situation, especially with children, a lot of times parents think the only way to really motivate and get their children to do what they want is through coercion. Again, usually yelling, screaming, fear. And I'll invite you, if you're in that situation, to explore other ways to motivate. See if you can find other ways to get them to do what you want. And part of this is actually respecting people's autonomy. So we might feel like our children should do what we tell them to do just because we tell them to do it. I know this is a very common assumption with parents and people. Children don't know any better. We just simply have to tell them. We can't let them make up their own minds. I would really question that narrative. The work that I do with inquiry with people, what you find is a lot of damage has been done to people by their parents, and well-meaning parents, loving parents, but these types of assumptions that I can emotionally blackmail my children, I can threaten my children, I can punish my children, and it's for their own good. I would really, really think twice about that. Chances are, if you're doing those things whether you realize it or not, and your children may grow up and be relatively healthy and relatively well adjusted. But if we were to dig below the surface, we would likely find that those types of threats and things actually did their damage. So this work, a lot of it, if you're interested in diving in, is about undoing that kind of damage that was done to us as children. And this is really what ultimately will heal the human race and hopefully heal the planet. I think the human race is, as a whole, is sick, you might say. It's sort of burdened with a mental disease. And a lot of these things, a lot of these kinds of assumptions are part of the cause of that. So in a sense, again, maybe there's a way you can, obviously you have to keep your children safe. So if for some reason your children are in the habit of jumping off of roofs or out of windows, then I don't know, maybe a little bit of screaming or yelling is necessary. But that's a pretty extreme example, and it's not one that I've actually heard of parents having to deal with. So there may be a place where the consequences of not punishing is death or sickness or certain problems, but I'd say those are pretty rare. And a lot of times, if we trust and we relax and we allow, there might be a little bit of head bumping or falling down and crying. There might be some mistakes made, but that's all part of the learning process. And so giving your children, giving the ones you love, room to make mistakes without feeling like they're under the gun, like they're being threatened, very, very valuable gift for you to give to them. So this is something I invite you to do. Look at your relationships and see if any of them are coercive on your end, if you're using coercion to get what you think you need emotionally or otherwise, and see if you can rethink that relationship and find a more loving way to motivate those who you're with to maybe do your bidding, or again, respecting when they don't wish to do your bidding for whatever reason, when they decide that that just isn't for them. You want that right. Isn't that correct? You wouldn't like it if I came around and started telling you what to do. You would want the option to say, no, I don't want to do that. And again, this is very much a part of my teaching. I don't try and insist that anybody do anything. I try and educate, I try and motivate. So for me, that's loving. I try and motivate you to do the things that I believe are going to make you happier and healthier because I love you and I want you to be well. But if you decide that that isn't something that you want to do now or ever, for whatever reason, then I want to trust you and respect that decision, that that is a decision that you have the intelligence and the education and the know-how to make. So again, I wouldn't assume that just because someone is a child that they don't have that capacity and that they don't deserve the same respect. And a lot of times the argument I hear for this is, oh, children's brains aren't fully formed and they can't make decisions, all this kind of thing. I mean, maybe you don't want to let a 3-year-old get a tattoo. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the scale of the decisions that people make, and again, part of being a good parent, part of being a good teacher is allowing people the freedom to make some mistakes of their own, because we learn a lot by making mistakes. So again, I know it's really difficult. If you have maybe a teenager, a tattoo is for life. You might feel like, oh my God, they shouldn't get that tattoo, whatever it is. So again, if you feel very strongly, maybe you can find another way to motivate rather than anger, rather than fear. So maybe you offer something in exchange for not getting the tattoo, something that is also desired. I don't know, be creative, explore, and see if you can eliminate coercion from a means of motivating people. See if you can, again, get what you need, and also, again, explore if what you really need is certain things. So again, I need you to take out the trash. I need you to clean your room. I need you to get good grades. I need you to whatever it might be, right? Question your own needs also. So, do we really need so much from other people? What do we think that is giving us by getting those things? A lot of times, again, we think if my children listen to me, then they respect me. But what you might find is that they listen to you out of fear. That's not the same thing as respect. Not at all. Okay? So, do you want respect or do you want them to fear you? Because it's not going to be the same thing. All right, everyone. So, I wanted to keep it short this week. I hope you found that helpful. Reach out if you have any questions about anything or if there's any way that I can help you. And if you want to help me in the community, please become a patron on Patreon. You can also make one-time donations via Venmo, PayPal, and other means. So thanks again for listening, and I'll hope to see you next week.